This week was tough, and not just on the charts, it was actually all in my head. Welcome back to episode 3 of my trading journey, where I journal every week my wins, my losses, my ups, my downs, and basically be transparent with absolutely everything I'm going through in my journey. So if you're a novice trader, make sure you subscribe and kind of keep track of it, and hopefully we can go on this journey together. Let's start off with going through where we started the account. So we started the account at $876.47 and we ended it on $488.75. So a huge decrease. Now, I know it's obviously not a very big account at the moment. I will be adding to it through this journey. I just don't feel the need to dump all my savings into the account right now. So please keep that in mind. Now, this $488.75 also takes into consideration the monthly fees that are taken from the account for things like market data and the platform that I use. And yes, I know the account is small. I've just started to put little amounts in, and I will be adding to the account. So anytime I do add to the account, I will let you guys know, so it's fully transparent on here. At the end of the day, I am a novice trader, so I don't plan to dump all my savings in there and just dwindle it down. I'm going to kind of control the burn a little bit by putting small amounts in, and I work my trades off just a fixed loss of $50 each trade. Hopefully we will scale that up as well as we get better and better at trading. Now, we use TradeZella to journal all our trades on this channel. If you want to try it out for yourself, click the link below, use the code NOVICE10 for 10% off on your first year. All right, so let's actually jump on the charts. Basically, our win to loss ratio isn't too bad. It's 1.6, and then our trade win ratio is 31.37%. Now, honestly, that to me is a little bit worse because there was a lot of break-even trades, so I wasn't actually really winning anything, and that's because of my mentality of the week. Let's start off by going through the daily journal. So you can see, obviously, each day, I only traded 3 days this week, which I will get into a little bit later on in the video. But for now, I just want to look at my daily log. It says my energy levels were okay at the beginning of the session, but dwindled throughout. I have started a new job, so it was absorbing a lot of my energy at the moment. So I actually started a new career currently. So a lot of my energy has been going to that during the day. I guess being very mindful of my energy, especially since we had that mishap last week where I just shouldn't have traded when I had absolutely no energy. So that was definitely a focus of this week. Now, Tuesday, we have a look here. Energy levels were good this day. However, the session, I felt very down because of the losing streak currently. I felt very conflicted with direction through this session as well. So something I started to notice was, because of this losing streak, I started to lose a lot of confidence in my trading, and that caused me to switch directions when I really shouldn't have. And in my head, I was just very all over the place because I had no confidence or, I guess, conviction in my strategy because of the losing streak. And this was really, really hard for my trading. It obviously impacted it, as we can see for this week's results, right? And because I didn't really trust my judgment with a lot of things because I was losing confidence, it only just snowballed because then, I was taking silly trades. So then I would trust myself less in my judgment for those trades that would actually work, right? And same goes as Wednesday. Obviously, as I said, it snowballed. So if we have a look at Wednesday here, let's take a look at the note. It said, I had plenty of energy in this session. However, at the moment, I am struggling a lot with self-doubt, and this is causing issues in my trading, whether I'm pulling the stop in too quickly or second guessing the direction, bias, or simply not pulling the trigger on a trade that would have been successful. So even on trades, there's trades that I'm just not taking because I'm too scared to take a loss. And I think the size of the account came into play here, which I'm planning to put more in next week. So I'm not really thinking about the account balance and not focusing on the money, because obviously this also impacted me on top of the self-doubt. In the future as well, what I plan to do with this daily log is kind of put in what my daily outlook was for that trading session. So I really take the time to understand the sentiment of the session. I feel like sometimes I jump on the charts, I draw my levels up, and I kind of do everything like that, but I don't really get a vibe of the sentiment, right? And I think that's very important to kind of, before you start trading, is maybe draw up your levels and then just take a step back for a moment and have a look at it from a wider view, I guess, to really work out what's going on and build that bias and build that, I guess, conviction in direction of the price. So I just want to kind of talk about the week as a whole, right? Because the lesson of the week for me was my mental capital. After last week, as we have a look here on the chart, last week, I did really well at the beginning of the week, and then I traded where I was very tired, and I just shouldn't have traded that day. Like, again, watch the last video. I was so tired this day and I just shouldn't have traded, and it just snowballed into Friday because, again, it was the end of the week and it just wasn't my best performance because of my energy levels. Now, have a look at this week. This wasn't nothing to do with energy. That's why I was so focused on my energy levels, and that's kind of what I was focusing on through the daily notes was my energy, because that was most important to me because of my mistake last week. But this week was more to do with confidence and my mental capital towards my confidence and everything like that. And I just want to speak on that. It's so important to reserve your mental capital. So what I mean by that is taking A+ trades, because not just because you obviously want to trade well and get good results, but because you don't want to take that silly trade that will affect your confidence and your mental capital going into the next day, because it only snowballs from there. You need to have everything right. You need to have that discipline. So that way you're not just trading for the single day. And I think that's also something to talk about, is everything that you do, that trade that you do, impacts the coming weeks. Your mentality, I guess, from there on, right? If you make a bad trade and you're upset about yourself because you make a bad trade and make a bad judgment, or you didn't execute that trade right, oftentimes you will carry that emotion to the next day or the next trade. So if you just avoid from making that silly trade to begin with, it greatly impacts your trading results, not because of that one trade. Your emotions don't reflect on all your other trades on from there, right? And how important it is to keep that mental capital safe, to protect it, because you want to protect your confidence, because you want to be able to pull that trigger on the trade when you need to. And like this week, my mental capital was absolutely depleted. I wasn't taking profits when I was meant to, because I wanted to get bigger profits. So that affected my results, as we can see. I pulled my stop too tight when I shouldn't have, because then I was scared to lose, because I realized my results were also worsening. And then I also just started to focus on losing money and the account size and everything like that. I was getting worse as the week continued on my mental capital, and I just wasn't reserving my mental capital. I wasn't thinking about it. I wasn't taking it into consideration. I just kept trading because I was like, oh yeah, my energy levels was good, because that was the lesson I learned last week. And what I am proud about though was after Wednesday, I took a step back and I realized that, and I knew Thursday and Friday were, I guess, my worst days trading so far, because I'm normally quite depleted after a whole working week. I stopped and I protected that mental capital, and I said, I need to step back. And I spent Thursday and Friday looking over my trades, looking over the good trades in particular, because I needed to rebuild my mental capital. I needed to realize that, hey, I do have a good trading system. I just haven't been executing right, and I need to trust the plan. And that's what I did Thursday, Friday, and I'm feeling a lot better today. And I'm excited to go into this next week to, I guess, perform and to trade those A+ setups and protect that mental capital, as well as focusing on the energy. So daily outlooks, really now I'm focusing on 3 things. Sentiment. Okay, so sentiment of the chart. I want to obviously take a bit of time to recognize where price is, where the market is, but also energy levels and my mental capital levels. Because if I'm not confident, I need to take it very easy that day, or focus even more so on those A+ setups rather than taking every trade, which you shouldn't be taking every trade anyways. All right, so let's actually jump into the journal now and have a look at 2 trades that I think were my best trades of the week. The reason why I'm not going through the worst trades of the week is because there's just too many of them. Like, it just wasn't a good week at all. And as I've said before, I'm never going to show you something that I don't think will build value for you guys. I want to be coming on this channel and showing you everything that I truly think that will benefit you guys as novice traders. And I'm not going to waste your time by showing you trades that weren't very good, right? So let's actually have a look at the good trades of the week. All right, so here is the trade here on the chart. Now this is on the 30-minute time frame now, just so you can kind of see where the levels were at. So we've got a few different levels here, and just a bit of an overview on what was happening. So we had a strong move up here, and then we had price pull back and then continue. Now I saw this as one nice 30-minute leg, so I've obviously drawn up the 50% discount level here, and I was kind of expecting price to come near this level here, right? Now, as we pop on to the 5-minute chart, we can go ahead and you can see that I've also drawn up, I've seen a strong leg come up here, and I've drawn up again a 50% discount level. And then we had a second one again as well. So as you can see, as price is going up, I'm basically drawing it up, right? So pop down to the 2 minute where I go through my entry. So you can see here, we had a nice, I obviously look at the tape as I've explained in the past. I look at the tape. So I saw that we had only just passed this 30-minute level, and we ran into a lot of selling volume at this level, which I saw on the tape. And we had a nice strong move down on the tape with decent volume and decent, I guess, large orders. So I was considering that that was a decent or strong enough leg. So I did draw it up on the 2 minute chart, which I'll show you how I drew up. So I drew up the 2 minute leg like this, okay? Because I started seeing that we were rejecting that level and coming up for a pullback. Now, I wasn't expecting this trade to go very far to this level by any means. I was not expecting it to go down here yet, but I saw an opportunity to, I guess you could call it a scalp, right? So you can go ahead, you can see I've entered here on a sell order. So I'll put that on the chart for you guys so you can see. Now my stop would have been above this 2 minute level here, and my target essentially was down here at that halfway point. So my stop would have been a bit tighter than that. As you guys probably have seen from my other videos as well, I put my stop above, I guess, the spread of the candle. I don't use the wick. I use the spread because that's where most of the orders were, right? So I've entered on a short here. Again, I enter because it's at the 50% discount level from the short leg, and I've seen selling come in on the tape, and I've also seen that there's dropping volume coming up to the 50% level and increased volume right at this level because of the sell volume coming in, right? Now, I've gone ahead, I've taken that short, and I've watched price come down, and I've pulled my stop just above this level here. At the time, I was judging this based on the fact that it broke this low. Now, I don't think that was the right way to go. Again, I was kind of trading based on fear of losing, but if I had kept my stop at a healthy level, honestly, it should have been up here until well below. I would have not got tapped out on that green candle that you see there. I'm just going to get rid of this so it doesn't get in the way. So as you can see here, if I just held it, it would have been a perfect 2-hour trade, but I didn't. Now let's read my trade notes. Trade setup was nice. We had rejected the resistance and had a long-term 50 below, created a leg that broke structure. So we broke structure with this leg here. We had a leg that broke structure and marked up a 50 on this leg. Entry and exit. So entry was nice. We were at the 50% volume confirmed, a possible pullback and continuation. I pulled stop down. Again, obviously explaining that I pulled the stop down when I shouldn't have. As explained earlier in the video, I'm lacking confidence, and it just shows that to really become profitable, you need to be able to deal with those losses and have A+ set up, so that way when you do take that loss, you feel confident in that loss. You know, yep, that loss was an okay loss, but in this case, I was taking trades where I shouldn't have, and I was depleting that mental capital, depleting my confidence, and even when I did make a good trade on an entry, I didn't manage it correctly, and I didn't have the guts to be able to hold through the pullback or anything like that to actually get the result required from the trade. And we can see that here. And I said, lesson learned, I need to have more confidence in my trading and myself as this impacts my results. So that's a clear example of what I'm saying is mental capital is so important, because you can still enter. I feel like novice traders always obsess over the entry. I know I did, or like the strategy in the beginning. And there's just so much more to trading, as we can see, that you can get the entry so perfect and still like I did this week. So yeah, so that's trade one. Let's have another look at the second trade that I want to go through with you guys. It was on Wednesday as well. So this one was later on in the session. Let's go through the trade notes first this time. So rejecting a 30-minute level was a 5-minute 50% below and a 2-minute 50% leg. Red leg volume presented correctly. Entry was nice, exit was bad. I pulled stop down early due to lack of confidence. So we're seeing a pattern here. Scared, lacking confidence is the emotion that I felt, and although I had energy in the session, I need to remember how important mental capital is. So this was at the end of the week where I started to really see the impacts of my mental capital being depleted. Let's have a look at the 30-minute level, because for some reason I didn't save the levels that I've drawn up. So you can see here on the 30-minute, we've got a level here. So I'm just going to draw that up for you guys just so you can see that we're very close to a 30-minute level. So I was expecting some down movement or some selling to come in because we're at a supply zone or a resistant zone, whichever one you guys want to refer it to as. Now, if we pop to the 5-minute, so as you can see on the 5-minute, we had a nice up leg here, as we can see. So I've marked up the 50% discount level. So we're focusing here as a target for this trade. Okay. Now, what I've also done is I popped down to the 2-minute. Basically, we've seen this nice down move with decent volume from the session. So I've gone ahead and I've drawn up a 50% discount level as well on that leg, expecting price to come up to it and continue down. So as you can see here, I've drawn up what the trade should have looked like, where my stop was. It would have been about here instead, and where the take profit would have been. So it would have actually been down here. But I would have definitely been careful because obviously you've got a bit of support here on the 2-minute. So I definitely would have been considering this level as well because it easily would have been a 2R at that point. But it could have possibly been almost a 3.5R trade, right? But again, we messed up, right? So let's take a look at it. So I've already obviously set the levels for the trade. Volume had came down, and we can see at this level volume was dropping and then it spiked. So I do always like to see a spike of volume, okay, because this shows me that heaps of people are coming into this level, right? Now you could say that the volume wasn't as clear, which is true, but we actually get a reconfirmation. So volume starts to drop again on this down move. All right. And then it spikes again on this candle here. So if we missed it, you could have possibly said that that was a second entry, or that was a more clearer entry because you can see volume spikes on the up move and we reject that level and come down. So whichever way, it wouldn't have made a difference in the trade. Maybe we could have got a better entry, but that's not really the point of this trade. So it was still a good trade. We entered, stop above here, and TP down here, which is also over to R on the trade. But I pulled my stop down because I saw this move down. Again, I was scared to lose any profit or lose anything for that matter, and I got tapped out here. If I kept my stop here and let the trade play out, it would have been a winning trade. And it was all because of depleted mental capital for the week. And that's when I called it to say, hey, I'm going to take a break for the week. All right, so where do we go from here? So next week we will be focusing on sentiment of each session. We'll also be focusing on our energy levels before each session and our mental capital, and taking that into consideration when taking trades, trying to take those A+ setups to really improve our trades and our mental capital and just build that confidence. That's what I'm really focusing on next week, is building that confidence back up, taking those A+ trades to help build that confidence back up and going from there. Now, I believe I will be putting some money into the account as well next week, so I will let you guys know in the next video how much that will be. Don't forget, guys, as well, we are doing a giveaway on the channel. So to basically go on the draw to win Al Brooks trading course and Anna Cooling's book on volume price analysis, like this video, leave a comment on what you're struggling with at the moment, whether it's trading when you have no mental capital. Oh my God, I can't. Subscribe, because it will be announced when we hit 1,000 subs on the channel. So stay tuned. I wish you guys luck on your trading this week, and I'll see you in the next video. Thanks. Bye.